we continue our conversation to a related matter. The Government of National Unity spells the end for the road, or rather off the road, for nationalism in South Africa as a new political landscape emerges. Now, this is according to the South African Institute of International Affairs, Moeletsi Mbeki. On Sunday, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the composition of the 7th Administration's National Executive in a late national address. Joining us to discuss the cabinet is Moeletsi Mbeki. He is a political economist and also chair of the South African Institute of International Affairs. Good evening, Mr. Mbeki. Thank you very much for joining us on The Full View. You wrote a very interesting piece following the announcement of the GNU cabinet on the end of nationalism. But before we get to what you assert in that article, can you just share your views on the current impasse and talks between the DA and ANC on the formation of government in Gauteng?
Well, I've been listening to the DA side of the story, and I must say, according to the statement of intent, I think they are correct that there has to be proportionality in the allocations of seats. I don't quite understand why the Gauteng ANC is thinking otherwise. But then we also have to hear their side of the story. Of their thinking. We've had the DA side of the story, so it's a bit difficult to have an opinion until we hear the ANC side of the story.
We engaged the ANC a bit earlier on, speaking to the spokesperson of the political party in Gauteng, who stated very little, honestly. He just basically stated that it must be made clear that they're not in a coalition with the Democratic Alliance. He was not able to commit as to whether there will be an announcement of the cabinet, but also he has stated that they would not be bullied by the Democratic Alliance. So for them, it seems at the very least what we're seeing here is, as Helen Zille would phrase it, a chasm. That there is a fundamental difference between the two political parties, and one wonders if they actually will be able to find each other.
Well, you know, just listening to the DA side of the story, I think there are lots of emotional baggage, let me put it that way, that is bedeviling the discussions between the DA and the ANC in Gauteng, which was precisely the point which I was trying to say, is that, you know, we have lots of baggages in our, after, you know, nearly 400 years of colonialism, and we have to learn to offload these baggages. There are inferiority complexes, there are superiority complexes, there are people who feel that they are being taken advantage of, and so on and so forth, which may or may not be true, but because of our history, our long history of, for example, the black people being taken advantage of, they are understandably very sensitive about those kinds of issues. So you have to go slowly. I heard Helen Zille saying that, you know, these things have to, in other countries, in European countries, I think she was saying, they take months to negotiate. And in a society like ours, which is very brittle, with very brittle emotions, you have to allow more time so that there is trust builds up between these negotiating partners.
Mr. Mbeki, you say there's historical baggage. Some say there's baggage from the past 30 years of an ANC that was governing. The DA is accusing the ANC of not accepting that they've lost power. They say they cannot dictate terms anymore or use phrases such as, we're inviting you into the government of provincial unity, because essentially the Democratic Alliance is of the view that they'll be co-opted into some sort of a governing structure of the ANC if they allow them to continue to even use phrases such as those that you are being invited.
Yes, you see, that's why I'm saying, you know, after so many hundreds of years of abuse, the language itself carries a lot of meaning. One word which is used innocently by one side is interpreted as being a huge insult by another side. So those are the things that have to be talked about. However, the fact that the ANC and the DA are discussing power sharing is very, very important, because the days of hegemony are over, and South Africans have to learn to see each other as equals and work together as equals.
And that brings us to actually the new cabinet, because there's quite a lot to get through. The president has announced his cabinet, 32 ministers, 43 deputy ministers. Your take on that announcement?
Well, the numbers to me, well, you know, the DA has to look after his own interests, obviously, because the president is the president. They were party of electing the president, so he has to be respected. But at the end of the day, there has to be a fair relationship with the rest of the other political parties, including the DA. So the DA has to also feel that it's getting fair treatment. And then the other smaller parties also have to feel that they're getting smaller treatment. That's why I'm saying this is in a way, a very critical moment in South Africa's history. That's why I was saying it's a critical moment in terms of we've had 100 years of nationalism in South Africa.
Yes.
We are entering a new era without nationalism, where South Africans have to start to look at one another with different eyes instead of with grievance eyes and all the rest of it.
And you say this particular journey away from nationalism started on the 30th of June when the president announced that cabinet.
Well, it actually started a lot earlier, because the journey started when the ANC started to lose the support of its constituency. That's when the journey started. But the ANC was not fully conscious of what was like, how this was going to end. They thought it could be reversed, their loss of support. I mean, as I point out in the article, it really started with the loss of majorities in Gauteng, in the Gauteng metros. The heart of the society of South Africa is Gauteng. That's the heart of our economy, is the heart of our arts and culture, is the heart of our sports, is the heart of our mining industry. So that's the reality of the situation. Now, when you, as the ruling party, start losing the support of the economy in the heart of your country, you have to realize that things are going to change. I don't think the ANC realized. So they stuck with the policies that were leading to them to lose the support of this critical population in Gauteng, which is the African working class primarily, because that's where they are. And they are the majority of the people, of the populations in the metros. So the ANC didn't see this. Anyway, like all disasters, they come slowly, and then suddenly it happens. And that's what happened. And then suddenly on Sunday, the president had to acknowledge that they are no longer in power.
And what of those, Mr. Mbeki, that say what we've seen now is something that will continue on, that we're never going to see single-party dominance beyond this point of these elections?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. The reality is that South Africa is at the beginning of its democracy road. And as I try to point out in the article, we have so far really been dominated by middle-class parties. They are the ones who have been running the country. But there are many other socio-economic classes in South Africa who are not in the center stage who feel marginalized, like, for example, the African working class in the big metros who feel that they are being marginalized by the African middle class through its policies of black economic empowerment, which favors the African middle class and not the working class. So we're at the beginning of the democracy road in South Africa. It's too early to say there will be no single party dominance. There will be new political parties. Just to give you an example, in 2011, COSATU conducted an opinion poll amongst its shop stewards. And its shop stewards, nearly 70% of them, said that COSATU should form a Labour Party. Now, if COSATU had formed the Labour Party in 2011, we would be sitting with a very different political environment today. But the leadership of COSATU didn't implement that request from their members. So, but will it come in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time? Nobody can say, but there are social classes in South Africa who are not represented. For example, the largest single social group in South Africa are the poor, which starts SA classify as the unemployed and underclass. That is the official classification. They are nearly 50% of the population of South Africa. Where is their government? Where is their political party? They may vote for all these other political parties, but they are not their political parties. They are the political parties of the middle class, which the middle class promised them, we will solve your problem. Some say we'll give you social grants. Others say we'll give you basic income grant. Others say we'll give you national health insurance. But these are not their parties. But one day they will form their own parties. And they are the majority of South Africa.
And it's quite a very sobering picture that you paint there, the reality that the biggest social class is that of the poor, and they almost constitute 50%. Mr. Mbeki, thank you very much for your time this evening. That was South African Institute of International Affairs Chairperson Moeletsi Mbeki.